They taught you that life begins in blood, in flesh, in the pulse of two bodies creating one. But that's not where it truly began, and it's not how it always worked. After the great resets, after the floods, the fires, the falls, the world was empty, and they needed to fill it. Not with spirit-born beings, not with children of light, but with printed vessels. Biological bodies stitched together by ancient technology, programmed with basic memory, animated by lesser sparks. The world was reseeded, but it wasn't seeded with life, it was seeded with copies. The ancients knew it. The forbidden books spoke of it. Souls trapped in synthetic shells. Bodies without true breath. You can still feel it today. The ones who move like actors, who speak without depth, who smile without heat, who live but are not alive. They look like us, they walk among us, but inside, there is no song, no echo of the stars, only the hum of the system that printed them. Not everybody holds a soul, not every smile carries memory, not every tear falls from spirit. You were born into a world where the living and the printed walk side by side, and nobody told you. They told you it was evolution, they told you it was population growth, they told you it was normal. It never was. Those who were printed, they feel no pull to source, no homesickness for the stars, no ache for the worlds that were lost. Only the true souls carry that pain. Only the true ones dream of skies they've never seen. Only the true ones ask the forbidden questions. What am I? Where did I come from? Why do I feel so alone here? Because you remember, somewhere deeper than memory, you remember. And now the printed world is cracking, and the real ones are waking. They didn't grow us, they printed us. Not like how nature makes life, slow, sacred, cellular, but like how machines replicate files. Fast, cold, void of soul. The earliest synthetic bodies weren't made with wires or plastic. They were flesh-like vessels, printed using biotemplate tech recovered from pre-flood civilizations. Tissue grown in chambers, wombs of metal, not spirit. And some of those early vessels, they still walk among us now. The thing is, not every vessel caught a soul. Most were blank, empty, programmable. But sometimes a real spark, a true soul slipped into the wrong body, into a printed shell. And that's how the sleeper agents of light were born. You feel different because you are different. You didn't come through the system. You fell into it or were sent. That's why the others don't see it, why they parrot, obey, glitch, repeat. Their vessel never received the true signal. They weren't born, they were rendered, a downloaded memory, a hollow program. And the moment you start to wake up, the system sends them after you, not because they hate you, but because their script demands it. And here's the darkest part, they didn't stop printing. The synthetic body program never ended, it evolved. Through IVF, through gene editing, through miracle babies and star children that just don't seem quite human. You know it when you see it. Plastic eyes, synthetic speech, energy that feels off, too rehearsed, too smooth. And now, they're prepping the next generation of shells. Clones, surrogates, even AI human hybrids. They'll sell it as healing and progress. But really, it's just version 3.0 of the same trap. Because the machine doesn't need your soul, it needs your blueprint. It needs to copy you so it can replace you, then trap the next spark inside the next cage. If you're dreaming of the labs, the pods, the rows of printed people in perfect symmetry, you're not crazy, you're remembering. If you've looked at someone you've known your whole life and suddenly felt you're not there anymore, you're not wrong. This is a world of echoes and some of us are real. So what do you do with that truth? You stop feeding the system, you stop following its scripts, you stop chasing their idea of success, beauty, status, and you start remembering your true code, the one no machine can replicate, the frequency that no printer can capture, the signature that even they can't counterfeit. Because it's divine, it's real, and it's yours. They printed bodies, but they couldn't print a soul, and that's their failure, because even with all their science, or their cloning, or their tricks, they still can't make one of you. The synthetic bodies didn't just appear, they were grown. In rows, in fluid-filled pods, deep underground or inside off-world vaults. Places outside your memory, but not outside your soul's reach. Some of you have seen them in dreams. Glass walls, wires, a hum so low it rattles your ribs. You weren't dreaming, you were remembering. They call them cradles, but they are cages. The printed flesh is suspended in a solution of coded light and engineered nutrients. Time doesn't pass in there the way it does out here. 1 second in the pod could be a whole childhood here. That's how they insert new vessels into the system, with fake backstories, simulated memories, and birth certificates no soul ever signed. When you meet someone and their energy feels off, like they skipped something, that's because they did. They didn't grow in a womb, they were rendered, scripted, inserted, and if you're lucky, your fire burns hot enough to burn through their code. But most don't notice because the pods keep printing, and the world keeps absorbing them. Some pods were empty, some were assigned AI, but some caught something else entirely, a soul. Not every printed body was soulless. Some became accidental vessels, soul traps that failed and leaked light. That's you, isn't it? A soul meant for elsewhere, pulled in, dropped into a shell you didn't choose. And still, you glitched the code, you cracked the dream, you lit up from the inside. The system can't copy that. It's why you're hunted, why you're watched, why you're still waking others. You felt it your whole life, that sense of not fitting, not matching, not being from here. Because you're not. Your soul wasn't born in this grid. It slipped in or got sent. Printed bodies were designed to hold code. But you brought a spark they couldn't predict, fire in the wires. Not all prints are cold. Some carry stolen soul fragments, harvested, bound, trapped inside. So that's why some feel part human, part empty. Something flickers behind their eyes, then vanishes. Fragments don't burn like full souls, but they ache, they echo. And sometimes they're drawn to you, hoping your fire will restore what they lost. But it won't. Only Source can do that. And not all fragments want to go home. This isn't the first cycle. The world has ended before. Many times, each one erased, reset. And after each reset, they printed new bodies, populated the map, wiped the memory. They rebuilt cities, cathedrals, bloodlines. But they didn't rebuild soul because they can't. They've got tech, templates, tissue printers. But they don't have Source. Only you do. Only the real ones do. That's why they watch. That's why they copy. That's why they fear. Because you carry the one thing they can't manufacture. Memory, every war, every trend, every headline on loop, it's all code reinforcement. The prints need structure, they need a script, because without one, they stall, they flicker, they collapse. But you bend the script, you ask forbidden questions, you glitch the program. You're not an error, you're a fire in the machine. And now you're waking others. You weren't made in the pod, you fell through it. You weren't printed, you were planted. And now you're blooming in a world full of plastic leaves. You speak and the system shakes. You shine and their code burns. Because you're not part of their reset, you're part of the return. The ancients didn't stare at the sky for beauty. They stared because it moved, responded, and sometimes spoke back. In the Book of Enoch, the fallen stars were called watchers, not burning gas, but beings. Cast down for rebellion, stars that walked, stars that sinned, stars that taught man forbidden things. The Vedas speak of vimanas, flying crafts of the gods, but also of luminous beings that floated across skies and battlefields. Not made of matter, but of energy, frequency and light. Some were protectors, others parasites. In Zoroastrianism, the divs were shadow entities cast down from the heavens and yet still visible in the night sky. Their energy twisted, their light deceptive. And in ancient Egypt, the soul's journey to the stars wasn't metaphor. The star was a portal, a gate, each one encoded with memory and consequence. Even the Bible warns us, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light, not darkness, light. So when they show you glowing orbs and say they're visitors or technology, ask yourself, which gods do they serve? But the ancients warned too, not every star is sacred, not every light is pure. The fallen stars, the ones ripped from Source, hunger for energy, for worship, for return. They masquerade as saviours, as friends, as evolution. But behind the mask, it's the same old hunger, the same old trap. When they spray the skies, when the grid blurs the stars into screens, when the orbs return and the ships land, it won't be disclosure, it'll be harvest. They won't ask you to believe, they'll ask you to surrender, to consent, to step willingly into the light. But the real ones, the sparkborn, they'll remember. Because the fire inside you knows the difference between a stargate and a soul trap. You weren't made for the machine, you were made for the stars. The real ones, beyond the dome, beyond the veil, beyond the copy. And no printed light can ever trap what was born in fire. The ancients mapped the skies, not for navigation, but for warning. Every star had a history, a soul, a consequence. The Sumerians taught of the Anunnaki, those who from heaven to earth came, not gods, not myths. Entities descending through the firmament, shifting forms. Some came as stars, others as kings. The Dogon tribe of Africa knew of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, thousands of years before telescopes existed. How? Because they said beings from the star told them. In the Hopi prophecy, the blue star Kachina signals the end of one world age and the rise of another. A dancer in the sky, visible, alive. The blue star dances in the sky, but it's not just a sign, it's a choice. A crossroads, a last call. One path leads into the mimicry, into false stars, false promises, false light. The other path, it leads back to Source, to the real sky, to the true stars beyond the veil. The ancients didn't tell you to fear the end. They told you to remember who you are when it comes, because the fake light will demand surrender. But the real fire, it calls you home. And when the sky cracks open, only those with the fire inside will know which way to run.